Welcome to Vintage Weights PGH. And we've got a project here with this York barbell pre-USA milled back Olympic weight set. The set includes two 45s, two 25s, two 10s, four 5s, two 2.5s. And the previous owner, the young man that sold these to me, started to restore them. That's why one plate looks pretty good. He took a restoration method I don't employ or endorse, which is to sand the rust off or wire wheel the rust off. But I gotta admit, he did a pretty good job not grinding and sanding through all of the original paint. And I'm curious to see, once I clean up the match for this one, how well they will match. So how will we possibly restore these weights that are covered in rust and some cardboard and other residue? We'll start with an oxalic acid bath. 3 tablespoons of the powder per 1 gallon of water. In my trusty bin here, I'll have about 9 to 10 gallons of water, so I'll put about 27 to 30 tablespoons. It's my first time using this brand of oxalic acid. It threw me off a little bit that it came in a jug like this. I'd been buying oxalic acid powder in little pouches from Florida Labs. So we'll give this brand a shot and see how it goes. Of course, I will be using safety gear such as glasses and safety gloves, maybe even a mask, because I'm dealing with acid. So you should wear safety gear as well. After I soak them, you will see in the next clip that I will pull them out and I'll scrub them with various brushes. It helps, though, if when soaking you use painter's triangles. I hadn't used these in the past. I had been using just spare dumbbell handles and things to try to space the plates out. So I'll show you whenever I put them in the bath that these are very helpful. Shout out to the Facebook Vintage Weights groups, because I'd seen several members on there using these, and I thought, wow, what a cost-efficient, great way to separate the plates. After the bath, you're going to need some baking soda. You'll mix a solution of baking soda with water into a spray bottle. That's the way I do it. You could also dunk the plates into a solution, but I find the spray bottle to be efficient. And then you'll give them a scrub one last time. After drying them off with some old towels, you'll use the trusty 3-in-1 oil. So you'll need some of that. You may need some wire brushes, and you'll definitely need a nylon brush to go along with 3-in-1 oil. So those would be the supplies that you'll need to restore your plates. All right, so I've got my oxalic acid, put it in there, shot the water in there, mix it up real nice. The water's nice and clear. So now what I'm going to do first, I like to put the smaller plates in on the bottom. That way, because I know that the bigger plates are going to be at an angle. That way I maximize the space within this container. What you don't want is for the plates to be flat against the sides or the bottom, because then not as much of the oxalic acid is going to get to the surface of the plates. All right, I've got my oxalic acid bath set up. I like to put some of the smaller change plates in first, and I use the painter's triangles so that none of them are laying flat. They're all at an angle, minimizing the amount that they touch each other. That way, the most surface area possible will be affected by the acid in all the right ways. Now, I'll add one of the bigger plates here. It's almost like you're making a little sculpture, and you don't want it all to fall over. And make sure you put in, if you're using this size bin, the smaller plates at the bottom so that you can then angle the larger plates over top. You'll see, the glove's caught. You'll see that I've only filled it about halfway. I like to do this, that way I can really reach down to the bottom and arrange things the way I want without submerging my glove all the way. Put in one of the 45s, and then using my triangles, try to arrange some of the smaller ones again to minimize the flat on flat. It's the next morning, about 8 to 10 hours later, and at the very least, we need to scrub these plates down in this murky water. Let's see what emerges. You can see how the oxalic acid's already doing its job on the plate, but there's a lot that needs to be scrubbed. So you go over, and then we'll put it back in for another couple hours. Even if one side is looking finished, once I rinse that off, it's probably finished on the milled side. It's okay to put it back in. It's not going to strip the original paint in the next couple hours. So we'll put the plates back in and come back to it later today. So now it's time for the final scrub, hopefully. So when you pull these out of here, after another 6 to 8 hours, you're going to have a lot of smeary rust going on. And that's a good thing, because deep below there, hopefully, it's just the original paint. So I scrub, and then I wipe it down some, and look at that. That was once orange rust, and it is now beautiful, original black paint. Now, once you do that, and you get it to your liking, you then spray it with a baking soda solution. I put 1 tablespoon of baking soda per squirt bottle, and my squirt bottle is 32 ounces. So 1 tablespoon per 32 ounce spray bottle. This, though, looks like a very textured rust. Yeah, as I touch it, there's definitely some buildup over the mill marks. So I'm going to soak this longer to see if I can bring up some more of that. So that's an example of a plate that's not ready to come out. It's on its way, though. So I won't spray that one with baking soda just yet. Let's see what comes out next. Oh, yeah. So, before I hit it with the nylon brush, whoo, look at that thing. It helps to get a little brass brush as long as you are, because this had cardboard or something on it that I couldn't get off. So, as long as you're not scrubbing too hard, that helps quite a bit. So this one will definitely go back in too. So let it be known, you know, it might take more than just that original soak. It might take more than just one overnight. Oh my goodness. You can see this coming off of here. Nylon. So, what I tend to do with a set like this is just play it by ear, see what comes out of the bath. And maybe it's ready to go back in, maybe it's ready to be sprayed down. For example, these 5-pound plates I brought out look great. So they're ready to be sprayed with baking soda and then hit with the 3-in-1. So this is what the plates look like after spraying down with baking soda and then drying off. And you might think, wow, like, these look amazing. I'll just leave them like this with this original black paint. But here's why you should hit them with 3-in-1 oil. Number one, it's going to prevent further rust. Number two, it's going to really make them shine and look good. And number three, if you leave them like this, they are going to get kind of chalky, kind of almost dry looking. That metal wants that oil. You don't need too much oil. I mean, there's no such thing as too much oil. You're just going to waste your money. So here's how much I use. I usually do about half a circle on each. And that's enough for that side to really go around and coat it without wasting oil. So it's been our third soaking. And let's see how we're doing here. Not bad. Now there's still, right along here, quite a bit of grime. So we're getting to the point here where after almost 2 days, about 2/3 has been cleaned up, but there's this chunky stuff in this area and here, and if not, I'd rather have bare iron than rust. So at this point, after 2 days of soaking, I think oxalic acid has done just about all it can do for this section. So what I'm going to do is hit it with the brass brush one last time, then I'll wipe it down, hit it with the baking soda to neutralize, and then let it soak overnight with 3-in-1 oil. Alright, so it's been a full 24 hours. Don't be deceived by the 3-in-1 oil. Those rust spots are still there. So first, I like to take a, from softest to the toughest approach when it comes to wire wheels. So starting out with the Nylux, I tried blue, too soft, some orange, and now the gray prior to hitting actual metal on metal, with the hope that maybe this doesn't chew all the way through it. What remains to be seen is whether it's going to be bare iron or whether it's going to still have a little bit of paint on it and blend in with the rest of this that's original black paint. I'm not sure about that. Whenever I'm using any type of wheel, I always use protective eyewear, and my voice is probably a little different because I wear a mask as well. I suggest you do the same. I'm going to get back to work here. I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. So let's see how we did. Overall, a big improvement. However, I'm still learning as I go here, and I hope you can learn from these projects and experiences of mine that everything doesn't turn out perfect every single time. I would consider the 2.5s, 5s, and 10s to be a win. They look just about pristine. This is all original paint. And the 5s, 10s, and 2.5s were very little work. If you look back at the last 15 minutes of this video-ish, you'll see that the bulk of the work was right here. The 25s and that guy. So the 25s, even if I just grab a 10 and I put it on here, you can see there's still this texture that I'm not really happy about. I let these soak and soak and soak. And even if you flip them to the back, you'll see that that texture isn't present. The mill marks, once I focus here, are beautiful. So really, it's just the front. However these were sitting, they picked up this texture, and I got the bulk of it away, and it looks a lot better than it used to look. But wow, I even took a straight wire wheel. I built up with the Nylox, going to the most abrasive, and then I went to a straight just wire wheel, and yet no good. It only took it down so far. This is the 45 that was sanded down by the previous owner. These mill marks are gorgeous. This 45, the mill marks look great where they show through, but again, kind of like the 25s, whatever this was sitting in picked up this coating. I don't think it was a casting flaw. I've really gone back and forth, if you notice through this video, thinking, well, maybe it's something built up, some rust that's built up, or maybe it's a casting flaw. But when I examine it, the mill marks are going straight through, the same as they are over here. And, you know, pairs aren't always exactly alike, but I just mean in terms of mill marks, they're going straight through. So I'm coming to a conclusion. I do think this is build up, but wow, it is strong. I've soaked these for 2 days. I've used all the way up to a wire wheel. You can see where the wire wheel took this down to bare iron here, but then didn't take out all of this. So I might hang on to this plate to just experiment on and try to see what works. What will take the very last of this. And I know I'm being a perfectionist here. By most people's standards, this would be fine. Especially the front looks very nice. I'll see if I can pick it up here and flip it over one-handed with the camera. Oh, that's the struggle right there. There we go. So, the front cleaned up really nicely. Most of this was retained, some of it wore off. But overall, it's a nice looking plate. From start to finish, it was a worthwhile effort. They look a lot better. I'll keep most of them in my collection. And I learned a lot along the way. But yet, still plenty left to learn. If you have any tips or have any ideas, by all means, share in the comments. And I hope you picked up some tips and tricks from this project. And please, of course, it means a lot to me if you like and subscribe.